This week on the Media Boss Podcast.
I am a publicist. I've been a publicist in my company for 20 years or so, 22 years or so. And then before that, I really had a career as a publicist for, I don't know. I mean, if I say how long, it's like, dang, how old is it?
Well, you're only
But it was a
25.
couple of.
Welcome to another episode of the Media Boss Podcast. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I am excited to have you guys here today. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Barrett, are you going to say that you have another great show and a fantastic guest? Well, I'll let you say that because you know I do. I always have fantastic guests. I can't help it if everybody I know is just a bomb. But I mean, that's just how it is. But you get another chance to learn from them. Isn't that wonderful? The Media Boss Podcast, for those of you who are brand new, who don't know anything about it, what I want to do is show you that you can become a media boss. It's not about me being a media boss. It's about you being a media boss. And what I mean by that is you controlling your own media. You can have podcasts, you can have television shows, you can have film about you, you can have books, you can have ebooks, magazines, you can have social media content, and you can be the one to control it all instead of waiting for someone to put you in their circle. You can control it yourself and become that media boss. So the show is about me showing you that you can do that and bringing people on who can show you how to be a media boss yourself. Now, one thing I need you to do, I need you to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you're sharing it to everybody. Let everyone know that you're following the Media Boss Podcast, and they should too. Now, I start off every show with something I like to call a Media Minute. Now, what is a Media Minute? It's where I give you some information, some tips, some articles, some news, something about media, and to help you be more informed about it. This came from Teen Magazine. It said, it's asking, should politicians be media personalities? And keep in mind, a lot of the media don't get me wrong, politicians have been on media for years, but as far as being a media personality, and I'm going to give credit to former President Barack Obama because he became a media personality. And, you know, people ask, should they be more involved in it? Well, Barack Obama, he had over 30 million Facebook friends, followers rather. He had 20 million Twitter followers. And then Mitt Romney came in. He had like 8 million friends and followers, a million Facebook friends and followers himself. And then Donald Trump with Twitter. Donald Trump did so much on Twitter with social media. He became a media personality. Now, there's benefit to it. There are benefits to being in media as a politician. The media platforms create a casual sense of connection with your voters. Yeah, it can sense a connection with your voters. Also, media platforms cost less than traditional television advertising. Media platforms can increase voter turnout. Yeah, because people are following you, they connect with you, they may turn out to vote. Now, there are downsides to it. There are downsides to as a politician being in the media. Media platforms don't highlight the best leadership qualities for you because they're trying to be quick and to the point. Media platforms are not always accurate, and you know, with some sources. You all know that already if you follow politicians on the media. And these things can affect, of course, voter turnout as well if you find out things are inaccurate. So those are some of the things about should someone become a media personality. But guess what? You be the judge as to whether they should or not. So now I got to bring on my guest for you guys. This is a friend of mine. We've been friends for I don't even know how long now, but she is thebomb.com. If you want to get some publicity, if you want to get out there in the media, let me tell you, this lady, she is a publisher. She has done so much in media, and she's been podcasting for a decade, guys. You think she may know a thing or two? She is in the media in every facet. I see her all the time. I follow what she does. I'm going to bring to you guys to the Media Boss platform none other than my friend, Miss Pam Perry. Pam, welcome to the Media Boss Podcast.
Thank you, Barrett. Thank you for having me. I like that beginning intro, that commentary there. It reminded me of a movie I saw not too long ago that talked about the analytics and the campaigns and the rise of Facebook and how they can really buy advertising and really influence the non-decisive voters. and sway
Really?
that. I forgot what movie that was, but yeah, it's a true story. It was a
Well,
documentary,
and
actually.
it's funny. We have, I mean, our mutual friend Myron Golden. Myron's son Anthony wrote a book called "Sell Like Obama."
Ah, yes, yes. I think I actually have that book.
Yeah,
I think
and
I
it's
have the book.
basically talking about how Obama used it, and it's a lot of strategies that some politicians use. Like for instance, Obama's campaign and even Trump's campaign were geared toward us coming together. Like Trump was "Make America Great Again." It's about
Mhm.
us coming together. Well, and it talks about things like what Hillary did with "I'm with her."
Yes,
It
yes.
did not bring us together. It separated her
Mhm,
from everyone
mhm.
else. And it's things like that that they say that are so important when you're doing your campaigns as politicians. So it's really interesting when you follow it. But yeah, the media plays a great role in it. So first,
Influencer.
I want to talk to you about about your business. Tell everybody about your business and what you do.
I am a publicist. I've been a publicist in my company for 20 years or so, 22 years or so. And then before that, I really had a career as a publicist for, I don't know. I mean, if I say how long, it's like, dang, how old is it?
Well, you're only
But it was a
25.
couple of decades as well. So I was PR director of the Salvation Army. I worked for a couple of PR firms where I worked with like brands like Ford and McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts. And then also, too, I was a PR director for the African American Museum as well. So yeah,
Really?
PR has been my space for a while, but when I first got out of school, it was actually working at the Detroit Free Press in advertising. So newspapers are so uh in transition right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
So that was my first job, but it was like a big deal back in the 80s when I was working there, right? Working at a newspaper, a daily newspaper that was this thick on Sunday, right? It was like on Sunday, and now it's like this. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
online. But
You're
yeah.
right. You're absolutely right. That's fun. So then when you said you did PR for the African American Museum, the one in DC,
No, the one in Detroit. That was
one in
actually
Detroit.
the
Okay.
largest and the first one, the,
Right. Okay.
Charles H. Wright African American Museum.
Yes,
Mhm,
yes, yes. Yeah,
mhm,
fantastic.
mhm.
That's wonderful. Now, please inform everyone, what does a publicist do?
Whew. I always say this, that the publicist is that go-to person that's supposed to just know everything and know everybody, right?
No,
But
that's
really
you.
primarily it is to really connect the client to the media and tell and help the media tell the story. So we are that person that really is almost like an inverted journalist in a way, because we may write the story in a form of a press release and send it out to the media. Sometimes they'll actually pick up the press release and run it as is, but what you really want them to do is to interview your client. So the publicist is really the main person that pitches the media so that we can tell our client's story.
That's wonderful. That's
Mhm.
and this is falling in line in totality with what I've been talking about. Is that if you create your own media and you get that into the hands of a publicist, and if the people see that, wow, you already have media going, they're going to want you even more. It's a
Yes.
yeah, that's wow. And so you have been doing this for quite some time. Like I said, I see you all the time, and you are probably one of the hardest working people I know.
I love what I do. I truly, truly do. And I reinvented myself as a podcaster and also as a publisher as well. So
Hey,
we have magazines as well. And I really created magazines for those people that really couldn't get the cover stories from the traditional publications, right? From the Black Enterprise or the Essence. So we really created so that we own our own media so that we actually are promoting our clients as well. So
I
that's
love it.
something that I just started, 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 when we met. That's
Mm-hmm.
that was
Mm-hmm.
when the first issue actually came out. That was in, George Frazier's at the Power Networking
Yes.
Conference.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and see, that's something I definitely want to talk to you about your magazine. So, what challenges did you run into in starting that?
The main challenge was really trying to figure out the business model,
Okay.
right? Because a lot of people said, well, can I buy it in the grocery store and this and that? Remember, I came from print. So I knew that print was quote unquote dying
Mm-hmm.
because I worked for newspapers. This was my third magazine that I started. And I knew the traditional model was not really what I wanted to do because it wasn't going to make money. The editorial was fine. That part
Right.
I got,
Right.
but how I was going to do it. So really just deciding like what business model to follow. And so primarily it's an advertorial model, meaning that it's a cross between paid and earned media. So it looks like earned media, but it's actually paid. So there's 4 types of media. There's paid, earned, owned, and shared. Shared, that's social media. Owned is what we're doing right now, our own podcast. Earned is like if you get on CNN and they ask the producer, says, okay, I want you to come in. And then paid obviously is advertising. But this is a combination between paid and earned. So it's advertorials that we really work with. And then we produce the magazine physically, and they're at the conferences where most people, if they have the event, they're there. And then they're online for people to download for free.
And I say my friend Letitia on the cover there. But,
yes, that is her. That is her. And your other friend too, Dr. Stacy Yancy Grant.
I sure do know Dr. Stacy. That's my buddy. and the thing is, I like what you've done there. I really love what you've done there because you did create your own media. How has that impacted you from a business standpoint?
It really, from this standpoint, I have really attracting a lot more speakers. And so I help them really shape their brand. So they come to me, maybe they're a little rough around the edges and say, hey, before we actually push you out there, get out there and get known, we need to really put together your speaker reel. We really need to write your press release. We need to rewrite your bio. We need to help you get your website together. So now I'm at the point where I have courses and things like that, where the speakers that will come to me say, hey, I want to get in. And it's like, but before you get in, you got to have your stuff together. So you got to get your website. So I'll help people create their websites, or they have to figure out how to get their whole messaging together. That's really the clarity is the main thing. It's like, oh, I want to speak to everybody. No, you don't speak. You got to have a niche. So really, I find that through some of my programs that I teach them how to really figure out their niche, pull together all of their brand, and then they get out to the media. So it's a process. It's a process.
I love that. I love that. Because the thing is, with you doing that, it's great because everybody wants to be on the cover of a magazine.
Yes.
But like you said, we ain't just putting you on the cover.
No.
We know that you're right. And I like that.
Yes.
I like that. And they're not going to, well, I'm assuming they wouldn't resist that because it's helping them.
Yeah, definitely. With Letitia Nicole is a perfect example. When she first really came to me and we were talking about, her PR campaign, we got her website all the way together, her opt-in give, her SEO, her messaging, what platform she was going to use the most. She's really, really good at TikTok and Reels. Excellent at that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have never known that, but she had this thing that she was a speaker and she did all these other things, and she had said actress. I said, okay, let's take the actress out. Who is hiring you as an actress? But that actress part is what she uses in her Reels and her TikToks. So it's something that she can use, but you don't have to say that. Yeah. You don't have to have all these things that you do. I'm a speaker, author, actress, blah, 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 this and that. I said, just use that part in your Reels, and then that'll track the other things.
That's smart. I mean, and see, I hope you guys are paying attention and taking notes, because even when she went over about the different forms of advertising, that's something that's a note taker right there. And I hope you're learning that hiring a publicist, and I'm just using Pam's example because I'm not going to compare anyone else, because Pam is showing you what a real publicist will do for you. Because I've had people say, oh, I'm a publicist, and they may try to get you on a radio show or whatever, but Pam is doing full service.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, Barrett, when people say that, people come to a publicist, well, I can do it myself. Yeah, you can do it yourself. You have to learn how and know the language. Just like it's an industry, you have to know the right language, how to position things, but also to having like the media databases. So the media databases for us, what we use is Cision, and that's roughly $5,000 a year just to have Cision. And so to get even the database, if you're just doing it for yourself, $5,000 is a lot of money. That's why a lot of people hire publicists, because we use it for all of our clients. Right. So you get a good ROI. But if you're just if you're buying an entire database for $5,000 a year and you really only have a small niche, it's like, okay, I have all this waste.
And then knowing what to do.
A lot of people hire publicists.
Yeah, and then knowing what to do with it. You spend all the money on it. See, I'm one of those people that I have a phrase. I say, in order to get it done, you don't have to be the one. Hire someone else to do it.
That is golden right there. In order What was it again? That's a note taker. That's tweetable.
In order to get it done, you don't have to be the one.
You don't have to be the one. You must not be the one. Okay. Because you cannot do all the things. You cannot wear all the hats. That is so true. Because you really want to go to the experts of what they do. If you want to set up a podcast, then let someone set up the podcast. Why should I learn how to set up a podcast when it's something that I only have to do one time, but it takes me 3 months to learn how to do it?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It's a waste of your time. Just pay someone one time to do it. And then all you have to do is just show up in podcast.
Be the talent.
Be the talent.
And see that, like I said, hiring a publicist who knows what they're doing, like Pam Perry, you have the opportunity to get someone to do things that really you don't want to do, and you don't want to take the time to learn.
Yes, it does take a while to learn. I mean, I went to school for this for years, and it basically think about a publicist as someone that's a journalist. So you have to think like a journalist and write like a journalist. So if you don't even think about media in that terms, so automatically you could say, Pam, I have a niche for A, B, and C. What media outlet would be perfect for them? A publicist would know A, B, and C, right? Not just like, oh, CNN, Good Morning America Today Show, but you have to know all the media in the niches, the local, the regional, and the national, the print and the broadcast, the bloggers, the podcasters. In between, you have to know where to go for all of that. Obviously, you could do some research, but typically, if you've been doing this for a while, you know, like bam, 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 and you have contacts. Oh, I have a contact at PBS. Oh, I have a contact at The Grill. Oh, I have a contact at Madame Noir. So those are the things, instead of just saying, oh, I just want to get an Essence. Well, you don't even know who is the editor. You don't even know that they have a podcast. You don't even know that they have Essence.com, which is separate from Essence the magazine. So, you know, just knowing that landscape is a little bit to just learn. It's a lot.
I mean, let me ask you something. As far as your average client, where do you start them off at, or are they all different?
They're all different, but primarily whatever they're the expert in. So if they're an expert in, say, finances or things like that, obviously we're going to make sure that they're under their foundational things are set up, you know, their website and that sort of thing. So if it's finance and money, then we'll try, you know, maybe Money Talk, you know, shows, or MSNBC or CNBC, things like that, because it's finance, or, you know, Yahoo Finance, those kind of things. But the first thing is really like, what niche is it? What media they're going after? And then, you know, once we write a press release and put it on the wire, then we go and actually talk to the people in that niche. And that's where you go. So if it's someone who says, oh, I want to speak to everybody, I can't really help them, because like, what media is that? Who is that?
Right.
We have to go and find who it is. If they say, oh, I have someone that says reparations, and I found a website that just really talks about reparations, and she's a go-to person because she's an expert in reparations. And so she's called on a lot by Karen Hunter and SiriusXM, all the Black outlets and things like Black newspapers, Black radio, because she's a reparations expert. So she gets a lot of media attention because now we know where to focus. But we did put it out on the wire, and then it goes and niche down into who actually really wants to know about what their messaging is.
Well, I like what you said there, because nobody, and I mean nobody, has everybody as their audience.
Other than Jesus, that's about it. I mean,
he didn't even have everybody as his audience, because some people were not interested.
Yeah, well, they definitely weren't interested, and they tried to kill him for it. But for the most part, he was trying to speak to everybody.
They're trying to, but it's just like all of us. We try to speak to everybody, but everybody is not going to be interested. So if you focus your attention on going out to everybody, you're really going to be banging your head up against the wall. So
if you try to speak to everybody,
Pam, I want to continue, because I want to talk about your podcast. But what I want to do, we're going to take a quick break here, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. So stay right where you are, because we're going to learn more about Pam Perry when we come back with more of the Media Boss Podcast. How are you going to learn everything you need to know about starting a podcast? Well, at the Create Your Podcast Weekend, we put it all in 2 days and help you get your podcast going by next week. That's right. By next week, all you have to do is come to the Create Your Podcast Weekend and let us show you how to get your podcast up and running. We will show you how to attract listeners. We will show you how to get people to pay you for your products and services. What products and services? The products and services we show you how to create, all at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. All you have to do is go to createyourpodcastweekend.com and get registered today. And we have special bonuses. Some of you will even get us to give you the equipment to start your podcast. That's right. We're going to give some of you the podcasting equipment to get started. Go to createyourpodcastweekend.com. That's createyourpodcastweekend.com and get started on your podcast by next week. Starting a podcast can be a daunting task. There's a lot that goes into it, and you're probably wondering if you're able to handle it. Well, why don't you just take 2 days and let us teach you how to do it at the Create Your Podcast Weekend. That's right. We're going to show you all the aspects of how to start your podcast, how to keep your podcast going, how to attract listeners, and how to make money with your podcast. CreateYourPodcastWeekend.com. Get registered right now. Welcome back to the Media Boss Podcast. I'm Dr. Barrett Matthews, and I hope you are learning a lot because I have my guest here, Ms. Pam Perry. Pam, we just learned a great deal. I mean, we take a whole book full of notes on what you gave us so far. I want to talk about your podcast. Please tell us about your podcast.
Ooh, I have had a podcast journey. Started out, like you said, about 10 years ago, started on a little outlet called Blog Talk Radio. That was cool at the time, but you have to transition. I also did something called Talk Shoe, not Talk Show, Talk Shoe. It's still out there. But what I realized after doing those podcasts, and I probably had hundreds of podcasts on there, is that you don't own that particular podcast, right? It's a free platform. The RSS feed is there. I'm getting a little technical, but they own it, right? And so if you were to go to any of those podcasts that I did, I had a podcast called Chocolate Pages, and I was interviewing chocolate authors. And if you go back to any of those podcasts, they're not there anymore because it was a free platform. It was like years ago. I should have downloaded them. I didn't know. So now I podcast, get out there, get known. I own the RSS feed. It goes through my website, PamPerryPR.com. They can watch it on the site or in all the podcast directories, but I own the RSS feed. And why that's important is that you can then take that RSS feed and send it to another podcast network. So say, for instance, we're going to be in Black, BLAC.media. That is a podcast director of Black Magazine. We're going to be in Ebony Podcast Network. And that's because we can give them the RSS feed from us that we go through Blueberry, and it gives it to them. And they can put it in different podcast directories. There's a lot of different podcast directories, but this one is like, get out there, get known, really is for African-American experts and entrepreneurs. So that's what that is for. Then there's Speakers Magazine, the same thing, speakersmagazine.com. The podcast is actually on Roku. It's actually on all the podcast directories from iHeart and, Stitcher, all that kind of stuff, Apple Podcasts. But it's the main thing that it lives in the website, right, where you actually own it. We pay extra for it, but it's a lot different. Like my daughter has one through Anchor. Nothing wrong with Anchor, but she's like 20-something years old and she doesn't have a business. She's just out there podcasting. It's a free tool. You can do it. But if you're a business person, you want to use it to really expand the reach of your business and your services and your products. So that's why I say you should probably own your own URL. So I
totally agree. 100% agree with you on that.
Pay for hosting, just like you pay for a website hosting, you pay for podcast hosting.
I'm so glad you said that. I don't have to say it now. So
yes. That's key.
That is. Now let me ask you. So what do you say to that person who has a little trepidation about starting their own podcast, about getting out there with their message?
Well, if they are expert in something, they have a voice, they're a thought leader, they have to lead with thoughts. And the only way people are going to know that you're a thought leader is leading with thoughts, and that's by speaking. So you have to, even if your podcast is a solo podcast and it's 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of you consistently every week, that is fine because you are an expert. So you have something you can share. And I tell people, I said, that's the best way to really get out there and get known. It really is. I mean, you could do a lot of things, but podcasting is so personal because it's in your ear. And then also with video podcasting too, people just want to know what you sound like, what you look like. They want to see you unscripted. They always say, how do people do business? By people that they know, like, and trust. And the more they see you in a video podcast or listen to you in a regular podcast, they'll trust you. So the key is being consistent. So that's where the trust comes in. Know, like, and trust. So trust someone who's consistent. I wouldn't trust someone that podcasts every other month. That's not trust factor, right? You're doing yourself a disservice. So if you're going to do it, be consistent with it and put yourself in a schedule. Consider it as marketing.
Man, I feel like you're in my head. Because I agree with everything you said there when it comes to podcasts, as far as being consistent, getting yourself out there. But the know, like, and trust factor is so key. And for everyone out there, if you have any trepidation and you consider, like she said, if you consider yourself an expert, I look at it like this. And people have heard me say this a million times because I'm blue in the face, is that God gave every one of us a unique gift. It's actually scripture that he gave us each a unique gift. And for you to hold on to that gift and keep it to yourself when you're supposed to be sharing it, to me, it's like slapping God in the face saying, I don't want your gift. Because he gave it to you for a reason. So share it with the world. And I always say podcasting is one of the easiest forms of media to get involved in, because if it's something you love, you can talk about it all day long.
Exactly.
Just hit record.
That is so true. You could talk about it all day. And it's so niche down that you will find your audience and your audience will find you. You just have to be consistent. And
that's the thing, that last part you said, your audience will find you.
Yes.
Oh, and see, I tell people, I try to break people's paradigms about that avatar that we have to go find. So make yourself findable for them. They're the ones looking. So I always say McDonald's doesn't come knocking on your door, but they make it so you can find them.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
Exactly. So Pam, I want you to take some time and tell everybody what you have going on and what they can participate that you're doing right now.
Well, every single month, again, Speakers Magazine, it's a magazine, the official magazine of Black Speakers Network. So we really highlight, feature Black authors, speakers, experts, those that really want to, speak and be on platforms and that sort of thing. So they can actually go there. We have the Speakers Magazine show, which is, on the website as well. They can download all the issues over the last 5 years for free. They can watch the speaker reels, because a lot of speakers are like, oh, I don't know about a speaker reel. I don't know what that sounds like. They can go to Speakers Magazine. Most of the speakers in our magazine have speaker reels. And then the other thing is Pam Perry PR. Primarily, we're working with experts that really want to leverage their expertise to learn how to get clients through the media, broadcast and print. Before they really get that, though, they have to really know a little bit about how to really position themselves. They have to have the foundational things. They may have to do a podcast. They may have to do a website. Definitely have to have an email list. They have to build their platform. So before we really, PR is not the thing that really builds your platform. You have to have a platform before you get PR. So
I love it.
People don't know that.
I love it. But Pam, thank you so much for joining us today on the Media Boss podcast. I'm really, really great. You're welcome anytime to come back.
Thank you. I
love having you on. You're a great guest, great guest, guys. And look, please make sure you're following her podcast. Make sure you're following everything she is doing. Pam is a great asset. And look, hire her.
If you're ready, if you can take it, you can make it.
I love it. There you go. So Pam, thank you so much. And guys, I have something that I want to share with you as well. I want you guys to go ahead and write this down. 5 ways to paying clients.com. 5 ways to paying clients.com. It's my complimentary training I'm giving to you guys. And check this out. There's also a prize in it for you if you go ahead and watch the training. So go ahead and go to 5 ways to payingclients.com. And I have something special for you. But what I'm going to do right now is we're going to take a break and we're going to get ready to get out of here. Y'all know what we do. So hang tight. We'll be right back with more of the Media Boss podcast. Why should you contact Media Boss Club right now? Well, because you can get a podcast done for you. You can learn all the aspects that go into putting together a great podcast and have someone else do it for you. That's right. We will build your podcast around your content and make it so you can concentrate on the money-making activities of your business. Contact MediaBossClub.com. That's MediaBossClub.com today, and let us get your podcast started right now. Let's face it, you've been talking about starting a podcast for quite some time, but you haven't started yet. Why is that? Could it be that you just don't have the time because your day-to-day keeps you so busy? Or could it be that you don't want to learn all the technical aspects that go into putting together a quality podcast? Well, at Media Boss Club, we take care of that for you. How would you like to have a done-for-you experience? That's right. At Media Boss Club, we build your podcast for you. We will edit your podcast. We will put in the music for you. We even put in commercial breaks that you can put your advertisers in. We will take care of all of the uploading to the great podcast platforms that are out there. That's right, we do everything. All you have to do is just right now go to MediaBossClub.com. That's MediaBossClub.com, and let us handle the heavy lifting for you. Back to the Media Boss Podcast. I am Dr. Barrett Matthews. I told you my guest was fantastic. Pam Perry was phenomenal. And we're about to get out of here, guys. But before we go, that's right, before we go, you know what I got to go over. One, check us out on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Media Boss Podcast and check us out. We have some great things for you there just for supporting the show. Also, if you want to learn more about how to not only put together your own media and become a media boss and how to get paid for it, go to MakeMoneyFromMediaChallenge.com. MakeMoneyFromMediaChallenge.com. It's my 5-day challenge I'm offering to you guys. You come to the challenge. If you come in as a VIP, you're going to get a vacation, a free vacation coming in as a VIP to the Make Money from Media Challenge. So that's all I got to say. You come, you get a free vacation. Also, if you're looking at doing a podcast yourself, if you want to have your own podcast, we can help you. Text the word podcast. Text the word podcast to 929-244-4323. That's 929-244-4323. And as always, guys, make sure you subscribe to the show. Make sure you share the show. Let everyone know that you're listening to the Media Boss Podcast, and leave us a great review, please. Make sure you leave us a great review because we look forward to that. We love your reviews as well. So, as we always end the Media Boss Podcast, I always say that one thing, and that is Media Boss out.